Hello, I'm Simon Goose and I am here at GAK.co.uk to show you the Yamaha DTX M12, which is this multi-pad I have sitting in front of me. And what I want to do is show you what makes it different from other things and show how it can make your life much easier if you are a drummer. So we'll start and we'll have a look at a few things. Multi-pads like this have been around for a long time. If you turn the television on and watch any festival, you will see these off to the side of drummers' kits, and it's been like that for many years now. But the M12 is a little bit different from everything else out there, and what I want to show you now is why it's different and why it can improve your life as a drummer to have one and to use it. Now, it's called the M12 for two reasons. One, it's got 12 minutes of sample time. You can load stuff in just on a USB pen drive, just straight into the side. And the other thing is it's got 12 pads. So it's got them set up in this sort of stepped way, so you don't have to lift your wrists when you want to play the front or the back pads. If it's all flat, you tend to have to do this, but as it is set up, I can access all the pads very, very simply and keep the angle of my stick the same. So 12 different pads, bar pads at the front, bar pads at the back, and the 6 flat pads in the middle. These aren't standard pads. I'll need to show you a lot about those later on. There's something very, very unique about them. But let's say that we're doing a gig and we want to have some sounds on here. Yeah, great. We can use the internal sounds. There's 1,000+ percussion sounds in there. There's keyboard sounds in there. There's loops in there. There's MIDI files. There's lots of different things. But like I said before, you can put your own sounds into this, your own MIDI files, your own samples, your loops, anything else you want. It can all go in and it just stays inside there. Absolutely fantastic. Right. So we could use the internal sounds, so a bit of percussion. Or let's say we want to use a loop live. So if I hit the pad here, I can just start and stop a loop with a single hit. But I've got 3 different loops here. So let's say one for verse, one for chorus, and one for bridge, middle 8, something like that. And each one will cut the previous one off. So I don't have to worry about playing to a sequencer. I don't have to worry about playing to a fixed arrangement. If I want to go to the chorus early and everyone's happy, then I can do that. So for instance, there's our verse. I could be playing my kit. Want to go to the chorus? Fine, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're into the chorus. Want to go to the bridge? Okay, very, very simple. So I can have all different loops for different parts of songs all over the pads, and I can just control where we go to. So it's much better than playing along to a fixed program on a computer. But what I can do with this is each pad can actually have 4 different sounds on it, and I can layer different sounds, and I can either have all the sounds playing together, or which is called stack, or I can do something called out, which is alternate, which means that every single time I hit the pad, it'll give me a new sound. So to show you what I mean, if I hit this pad here, whoops, helps me go into the right patch. Right, so there's our verse. Go to the chorus, hit the same pad again. Okay, go to the bridge, hit the same pad again. Which means I don't have to use all the pads for all the different loops. I can have 4 on any one pad at the same time, which saves on space and means I can use all the rest of them for percussion or whatever else I need. So very, very cool. Now, okay, drummers use these, percussionists use these as well. If you're a percussionist and you want to have a bit of extra percussion, you know, sometimes grabbing a triangle to play can be difficult in the middle of a gig, but I could have it all set up on the pad, a bit of Quaker, some cowbells, whatever else you need. And again, the sounds are cutting each other off, so they sound right. You don't get the ringing of the triangle when you hit the mute. So just like you would do on a real triangle. So much more realistic. Okay, but as well as being a drummer or percussionist, you might want to use this to make a little kit for use at home or for plugging into a computer to lay some drum tracks down. So on the back of the module, you can actually add 5 pads. There's 5 pad inputs. and you can add whatever you want. So I've got a hi-hat controller, which actually goes into the hi-hat controller input, and I've got a bass drum pedal here, which is triggering my bass drum. So now I'm using one of the standard Oak custom presets. I've got snare, rim shot on the front pad, I've got 3 toms, crash, splash, ride, which changes from a bell to a bow depending on how hard I hit. Closed hi-hats, open hi-hats when I take my foot off the pedal. So I've got a full kit here. Okay, so very, very simple. If I want to do the same thing with electronic sounds, all built in. Right, but the first thing that this does, which is unique to this, I can time stretch loops, which means that I can have a MIDI loop on a pad, so say something like that, or actually let's pick a drum track. Okay, so we've got that little electronic drum loop going round and round and round, and it's at that tempo. But if I press the shift and the metronome button, that takes me into tap mode. I've got a pad here which doesn't have any sounds assigned to it. And now this, when I tap this pad, it'll set the tempo of the loop. So if I play slowly, 2, 3, 4. Okay, easy. If I play fast, and that will also change the internal click as well. There's a metronome built in which you can have going just through the headphones. So you could be playing with your headphones on, you can hear the mix of what's coming out of the M12 as well as the click, but what's going out to the front of house, what's going out to the PA is just the sounds coming out of here. So not everyone has got to hear the click. So that tap tempo is really, really useful because I could take a bass line, tap tempo it slower, and play along with it. You know, there's so much you can do with this. So that is a highly unique feature. Normally you need computers and stuff to do that, but you can do that all inside the M12. There's a built-in Yamaha motif sound source in here. So I could have melodic melodies on pads, I could hit pads and trigger sounds, whatever you want. It can all be done here, very, very simply. Right, the other thing I can do is I've got some bass synth sounds set up on these pads, on the 6 central pads. But if I just hit record, play the bass line once, when I stop it, the M12 will ask me if I want to assign that loop to one pad. So I've done that before, so now when I hit this pad, I've got start and stop, that loop, one pad, and I can now change the other pads to be something else if I want to. So it means I can save on the amount of space I'm using and the amount of different pads and the amount of different sounds, and I can just assign it all to one pad if I want to. Again, brilliant for live. Right, okay, then something else which is new. A bit of tuned percussion, and Yamaha sampled a shed load of percussion for the M12 when it was built. So we've got new sounds like the tubular bells. But what I can do, if I play the tubular bell, if I put my hand on the pad, I can actually mute the sound. So I can use my hand to influence the sound as well. So they are pressure sensitive pads, and there hasn't been anything else like this where you can do all of this in one go with sticks, with hands, all at the same time. Very, very cool. And that leads us on to another thing, which we'll come back to the pressure sensing in a minute because there's some very cool stuff to show you. But there is nothing else like this which has got loads of tuned percussion sounds in it. So if you are a percussionist and you normally play tuned percussion, you can choose which of the notes you want on here and you can play. If you want to join Earth, Wind and Fire, you can do it. Or maybe some marimba. And of course I can mute it with my hand. Or a bit of vibraphone. Very, very cool. Now, these pads, these 12 pads, I can use them to trigger sounds, I can use them to start or stop loops, I can use them to start and stop MIDI files, I can do anything I want with them basically. But another thing I can do is I can get them to send out MIDI control data. And MIDI control data is used for changing patches on keyboards or drum kits or anything else like that. It can also be used for controlling lights or anything else which takes MIDI control data. I can control it from this. So I could set it up so that when I press this pad with my finger, when I get to a certain strength, it'll turn the lights on the stage or something like that. There's so many different things that can be done with this. It's fantastic. So I'm not using external MIDI at the moment, I'm using internal. I'm going to use the pads to turn the effects on and off. So I've got a loop here. Okay, and when I hit these two pads here, I can apply effects to the sound, to the loop. So I could change the pitch bend down and pitch bend up, pitch up for a bar and then down. So I can do lots of different things. So I can control effects, anything I want with my sticks. I don't have to put my hands down, sticks down. I can just control it all with my hands, which is very, very cool. Right, so I'm going to put my sticks down at the moment, and I'm going to show you something else. Because this is pressure sensitive, and because it's got loads of percussion samples inside it, I can play it like a percussion instrument. So if I just take this off and put it on my lap, I've got some conga sounds on here at the moment. So if I play this pad here, I've got an open conga sound. Let me just tighten the mount up. If I play the central pad, I've got an open conga sound. If I put my hand on the pad and play that pad again, I've got a mute. So I can actually control, again, the amount of the change in the sound just by putting pressure on with my hands. Maybe I want to do a little bit of cajon. I can, the wooden box that you normally play between your legs, I can play all those sounds here. And I can also do the pitch bend. When you play cajon, you can put your heel against the front and press, and it actually bends the pitch. I can do the same here with my hands. So all the things that you can do on a real cajon, you can do them with this. Maybe a bit of oudou. Oudous are clay pot drums, incredibly quiet. They're a nightmare on stage because they are so quiet. You need lots of microphones and you need them up very loud. But I can just do it here. Very, very easy. Or my favorite, I'm just going to pick up a stick for this one. A bit of tabla. So underneath the heel of my hand, I've got the bend of the tabla note. Very, very cool. So there really is so much you can do with the M12. It just depends on what you need it to do. If you want it just as an add-on to an acoustic kit and just have a bit of percussion or some loops, fine, no problem. If you want to have more percussion, if you're a percussionist, simple, because you've got such a massive library built in. and it's incredibly powerful. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Yeah, it's incredibly powerful, but look, the screen's really small and there's not that many knobs and all this sort of stuff. So what Yamaha have done is this. Let me just go and grab my iPad. Okay, so Yamaha realized that the M12 was potentially a little bit tricky to program. So what they've done is they have created an app called the M12 Touch. And what this does is it means you can edit everything on the M12 just by using your iPad. And you know, if you want to get in, if you want to, let's go into edit, and if you want to change the mix, if you want to change the sounds, you can do anything you want. So incredibly powerful. You can save all the settings on here, load them back into the M12, and away you go. So on the app, I can obviously change the mix, I can change the effects. So if I want to change how everything is routed inside, I can change my variations, my chorus, my reverbs, all that sort of stuff. If I want to change my trigger settings, I can even do that on here. And I don't have to even touch the M12. I can just do it all from the app, which is incredibly powerful. And it's also much clearer when I can actually see EQ curves and trigger curves just on the screen here, rather than having to look at a small screen on the front of the M12. The app is free, it's called the M12 Touch, and you can download it from the Apple Store. So that is the DTX M12, incredibly powerful, suitable for everyone who wields sticks or DJs or percussionists, drummers, the works. Incredibly powerful. So I hope you've learned something, and you can get in contact with gak.co.uk if you've got any questions, and thank you very much for watching.